Divorce is never easy, even if it's amicable. So when it's time to pick your divorce professional, whether it's an attorney or a mediator, that decision will impact you. Hi, I'm Julie. I've been taking the drama out of divorce through mediation for over 25 years. Today we're going to discuss 6 steps on how to pick a mediator in Oregon. Step number 1. Do you choose an attorney mediator or a certified divorce mediator? Let's get into it. In my world, there are 2 types of divorce mediators. There's an attorney mediator and there's a non-attorney mediator. In the non-attorney category, we have former pastors, former counselors, and even certified divorce mediators. Let's take a look at what they all mean. A former pastor or a former counselor, it initially sounds really appealing because you know they're not going to put gasoline on the fire. And a certified divorce mediator sounds really legit. But here's the truth. In Oregon, there's no licensing requirement to call yourself a divorce mediator. So yes, a counselor or a former pastor may not be throwing gasoline on the fire, but that doesn't mean they know anything about divorce law. It doesn't mean they know anything about how to write up something to make it a legally binding contract. A certified divorce mediator simply means they paid a company to call them certified mediators. It means they taught them a little bit about divorce, maybe some stuff about the law, maybe not. There's absolutely no standard. It is the wild, wild west out there. So it doesn't really mean anything. Just because they are certified means nothing. On the other hand, let's talk about attorney mediators. Well, are there bad attorneys in the world? Of course there are. But at least you're getting that minimum standard of they know how to put forward a petition to the court for dissolution. They know how to write up a general judgment of divorce so you're getting what you need. They know how to write a contract. They had to be able to pass certain basic minimums in order to pass the bar and therefore become licensed to practice in Oregon. So that's at least a threshold that you can meet with choosing a mediator as opposed to anybody else calling themselves divorce mediators. In my book, step number 1 is always, 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 when choosing a divorce mediator, choose an attorney mediator. Step number 2 is make sure your divorce mediator really mediates divorces. Divorce is a very complicated subject matter. It requires extensive knowledge in the area of divorce. So what you don't want is an attorney mediator who mediates, but they don't really mediate divorce. You need them to know divorce. You need them to understand the ins and the outs and the intricacies. You also need to make sure they're only mediating. Why does that matter? Well, there are a lot of attorneys who are kind of tired of litigating in life and they're trying to parlay their practices into mediation. I totally get that. They want to reduce down the stress in their life, etc. It doesn't mean they're great at mediation. And because they're mediating here and there and they're litigating most of the time, their mindset really is about litigation. Remember, litigation is going to court, advocating for one party and one party only. And so if you're in that mindset 80% of the time, is it realistic that you're going to be able to move into a neutral and impartial mindset, a problem-solving mindset of managing 2 people at once to get them to a fair resolution? Or is it more likely that they're going to be in that litigation mindset of do what's best, do what's fair in their mind for their client? So the truth is, if you hire an attorney mediator, make sure you're hiring somebody who's a divorce attorney mediator, and that's all they do. They're not litigating on the side. Step number 3 is make sure your attorney mediator has empathy skills. There are some really great attorney mediators out there who are going to get the job done, but you're going to feel like a truck ran over you. And you want the job done, but you also want to feel heard. You also want to make sure that your attorney mediator understands your position, understands the bases for your position, so that your attorney mediator can help you and your spouse come to a resolution that both you and your spouse feel is fair. What you don't want is somebody who has so much empathy that you're holding hands with each other, singing Kumbaya. They feel you, you feel them, but you're not getting any resolution. You're not getting your problem solved. So you want to have somebody who has empathy, but not so much empathy that that's what the focus is on, as opposed to getting your divorce. Step number 4, therefore, is making sure your divorce mediator has problem-solving skills. We don't want to be singing Kumbaya. We don't want to be steamrolled. We want that sweet spot, that Goldilocks spot of making sure that you feel heard, that there are problems being solved, that the mediator knows all the different options, can educate you up as to the advantages and disadvantages to all these different options that apply to you. And you, by the way, you don't want to hear a whole bunch of options that don't apply to you. You want somebody who's a professional who can hone it down to somewhere between 1 and 5 different options for your situation, advise you about the advantages and disadvantages of all those situations so that you and your spouse can decide what's the right fit for you. So it's that sweet Goldilocks spot of empathy and problem-solving ability. Step number 5 to picking a divorce mediator is understand their fee structure. Now, there are basically 2 different types of fee structures. There's by the hour and there's flat fee. The attorneys and the mediators who charge by the hour sometimes ask for a retainer. Now, a retainer is just a pot of money that the by the hour pulls from. So for instance, if you have a $5,000 retainer, then they will bill by the hour and pull from that retainer. So if they bill $400 an hour, that's about 12 hours worth of work, give or take. 12 hours goes very fast in the world of divorce. So make sure that if you're getting a retainer, it's not on a wing and a prayer and crossing my fingers that this will be all it is, because it's not going to be. Every email, every phone call from both parties is going to be tacked onto that retainer, and you're going to be getting that letter or that phone call or that email quickly saying, we need you to replenish the retainer. So if that is the model you want to be in, just go in with eyes wide open, knowing that the retainer is not a one and done. It is not a flat fee. It is just a deposit to bill against, and then they will ask you to replenish until they're done. Now, the flat fee, on the other hand, that's what I do. I do flat fees. For years, probably about 20 years, I billed by the hour. But I took so much data to figure out what are all these different factors that make me spend more time on one case and less time on another. Because the truth is, in my world, I don't care what your income is. I don't care how much assets you have. I care how long it takes me. And so I've learned over the years certain complicating factors determine how much it will take me. And if I'm wrong, I have to eat the bill on that one. And every once in a while I do. But for the most part, I'm usually right in the sweet spot of what was right for me in my time and what was right for my client's time. So I do a flat fee so that everybody knows that this is exactly what they're going to be billed from beginning to end. I even pay the court filing fees out of my filing fee so that you can know exactly how it's going to be with a cute little bow. Now, in my office, there are about 2 different fees that may come up. One is a specialized order for certain retirement accounts. It's about an $800 fee. I don't earn anything from that. We have to actually hire that out from a specialized divorce retirement specialist who's an attorney also. And then sometimes we have to redeed things that might cost about $100 here and there. But otherwise, anything that we're doing is all included in that fee. And we take everything in our flat fee. We handle everything from beginning to end. So we take everything to court for you within that flat fee. Why is that important? Because if you do choose to use a non-attorney mediator, they can't take it to court. And so usually they have like agreements with other attorneys in the area who will take it to court for you for another flat fee. But then you need to know what that flat fee is so you can roll it in and decide what your total costs are. Your final step, step 6, is pick a mediator who's going to get you to a fair result. Not a fair result in his or her mind, but a fair result in your minds. The way I handle it in my practice is I want to educate you as to what options exist for you, inform you as to the advantages and disadvantages to each of you as to which options will impact you. And then you two decide what's fair. If you're on very different planes of fair, then I will use my mediator skills to help get you into the same realm of fair. And maybe it's that he gets fair on one thing and she gets fair on another, and overall it's fair. So make sure that you're talking to somebody who has empathy skills, isn't going to break the bank through talking through all those empathy skills, because it can take a long time if you just let somebody vent and vent and vent. So they know when to cut them off and know when to herd them in a particular direction. And then finally, making sure that it's legal, right? At the end, you want it fair and you want it legally binding so that this is a one and done and you're out the door so you don't ever have to revisit this again. If you have any questions, feel free to book a consult. The links are below.